The Alpha Sessions.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Alpha Sessions with Lucy Wroe, and today my good friend Tootawl.
Hello.
Welcome. How exciting is it that you're finally here?
Finally, we've tried for a long time to make this happen, haven't we? Yeah.
A long time.
Here we are.
And here we are, and it's been already a great time. For me anyway, at least for me. Do you do much radio?
No, actually. No, just bits and pieces down through the years, but it's always good crack, you know?
It's always good crack. That's the word of the day. Well, the phrase of the day is good crack. Now, for those who don't know you, you are Irish.
I am.
From Cork.
I am.
And you have quite a mix of styles, really. You're not, I wouldn't say you're a folk musician or a country, or there's a lot of blending going on. But how would you describe yourself musically to people who don't know your music?
I usually say it's like contemporary folk with a bit of an Irish tinge, or like Americana folk with a bit of an Irish tinge, you know? Because I'm not strictly one thing or the other. Mm-hmm. And I think my like Irishness does come into my music, but not very strongly. Like, I think actually a bit more now as I go on, but yeah, for a long time I've had like influences of blues and you know, like the last album I did was a concept album, so there was all sorts of stuff in there. But yeah, I do find like the longer I go on, the more folky I get.
Do you feel like moving out of Ireland has changed your sound in a way?
Yeah,
in a way for good, or
you know, definitely, yeah. And I think it's influenced the lean into folkiness, you know.
Yeah.
And also just like, I guess, even though there's a few sounds in there, I think like honing the sound a bit, and like, because before and in like previous bands and stuff, I've kind of had all sorts of, like, one song would be this and the next song would be way different, but now, yeah, I've kind of like honed it down a bit, and I think I'm just focusing on the folkiness, and yeah, being out of your home country does focus the
folkiness.
Your focus, focus the folkiness. You know, it does, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you I don't know. Yeah,
you just get more influences from people around you and like networking.
Yeah.
But what is the scene like here in a way that has changed since because you obviously played lots of music in Ireland and moving to London? I always talk about this because a lot of people move here from all over the place, all over the world. And some people, like this morning's interview we had, she was saying that it was like a refresh. She came over here and it was so much better. There's people here and there's no gatekeeping and, well, a certain amount of gatekeeping. But how do you feel it differs as an industry or as having opportunities in London compared to being in Cork?
There's just more of them, I think, you know, more opportunities, and you can play around this city, you know, a few times a month or whatever, and you don't really, it doesn't get old, you know, like there's enough spaces to go around, whereas obviously at home in Cork, like yes, you could play every week, but it's the same places, or, you know, and there's no kind of, there's a bit of a ceiling there when you get to a certain point, or, you know, so yeah, it's just more opportunities, you know, and a more like a more a wider range of performers, so that you can have like more focused folky nights, as opposed to like, you know, everything just being together. But yeah, I mean, it's been great coming over here and playing for the last, I'm over here 6 years now.
6 years. Wow.
Yeah, it's mad. And you know, like, yeah, there's so much contacts to make, and you just never know where it's going to go, really.
Yeah,
whereas at home, I guess it just feels like there's a bit of there's
a
brilliant music scene there, but maybe there's a bit of a ceiling that you get to.
It's a small pond.
Yeah,
it's a smaller
pond.
But in a way, like, do you feel connected to it still? Like you wouldn't want to completely sever that, because it's like an integral part of the way you make music.
Yeah. And I don't get back enough to play, really. Yeah. My last gig back home was about 2 years ago now. But I guess I try and like save them up for when you know, have a big good gig then back home, as opposed to, you know. But no, I'd never want to cut the tie, you know. Yeah.
This is kind of what I imagine Native Home, which is something I want to talk to you about anyway, because it's an upcoming single. And there's a lot to unpack from that, but I hear it as you're a Native Home being moving away from home, but sort of you're talking about throw your anchor down.
Yeah.
And settling somewhere else. and seeing your native home differently, or being seen by your home differently?
Yeah, it's a song that came together quite recently, and like you said, it's about being away from your native home, and how your relationship to it changes, and how it is your home, but for various reasons you've put your roots down wherever you are, and you feel now that you can't go home. Not that you necessarily want to go home anytime soon or whatever, but like you just, the feeling of like, oh, I actually can't, even if I did. And obviously it's a thing that many people experience, but yeah, it's just and as Irish people, we're so the idea of like emigration is so strong in our culture. Yeah, everybody goes really. So it's a thing that I think many people will relate to. But yeah, and it's acknowledging that like the people back home would want you to stay, but they know that you can't, and they know that you've gone for a good reason, and you're staying where you are for good reason, for good opportunities, or the life you're building can't be built there back home. But yeah, it's a bittersweet feeling, a bittersweet song,
It's got that sound about it. Like it's a very warm. It makes you feel very warm, but it's also it's bittersweet.
There's a tinge of sadness in there.
Which is my favourite kind of music. Tinged with sadness, focused folk. I want to talk more about making it, because we collaborated on this.
You had a hand in it,
which I did a very, very small part to play. But tell me about just the creation from the get-go. How do you produce and record, and where do you have a team that you use? Or
I was very lucky to work in a big studio last year before, whatever, where they would let you record whenever there was downtime in various studios there, and the bulk of the song was done there, but it was actually the tune I had for a number of years, and then I used it. So I wrote it initially in that tempo, that is on how it is on Native Home, and couldn't quite get the words right, and then I changed the tempo of it and ended up as a different song on my first album, a song called Old Woman, but I always loved that original feel and that kind of more up tempo feel to it, so I resurrected it, and even though it is the same chords, but it is my own song. So I look back to like Bob Dylan did that on Girl from the North Country, and then Boots of Spanish Leather, on two different albums he used the same chords, it's the same song with just different words. So I was attracted to that idea as well. But so I had the tune for quite a while, and like I said, the lyrics then came together quite recently. And it was a very kind of productive day in the studio, where we put down the bulk of the tracks. Very serendipitously, my good pal Louis Cormac, who just happened to be in London on that day and was supposed to have plans, but then they fell through. He was able to come into the studio, and he did wonderful playing of electric guitar and bass, and really, really added to the song. And then where you came in was I was thinking it needs a bit of a lift, and I didn't know whether it would be myself that would do some backing vocals or whatever, but I did think we would need like a nice female vocal on it. So I thought of yourself and gave you a shout. And it just happened then that we very serendipitously got to go into Maida Vale Studios and put down your vocal. And it was brilliant. It just came together so well.
My own native home, lying
so far away, set out on my own. Now I'm bound here to stay. Held in your arms, held to the pact we made. Time flows on, moved by the things we said. Hold me closer, spin me round, make me older, turn me faster and faster, turn, turn, turn. My own native home, drifting away to sea. Throw your anchor down, try to keep it from moving. Hold me closer, spin me round, make me older, turn me faster and faster, turn, turn, turn to my own native home where I belong, but they know that I can't stay, I must go where my heart lays.
The Alpha Sessions.
When you're writing something initially, can you hear all the different parts coming together in your head and you know what you want to apply to it? Like string arrangements. Some of your other songs have got these beautiful string details and...
Yeah, I mean, so much that's unplanned, really. Just kind of, my previous song before this, People Fall in Love, has a nice string section, but that was just done on a day where I didn't really know how it was going to turn out. The parts were just worked out as we went, and I was just recording, and it just worked out well. Yeah. But I think sometimes these songs like People Fall in Love took a long time to come together as a recording. Another song, Capely Finn, which I've sung there, is taking its time as well, but seems to be coming together now. So sometimes these songs can take a long time if you have the sound in your head, but it takes a while to achieve them. But then these other songs, like Native Home, just kind of happen, and it all just works, Yeah. And I think they're the best ones, like, or at least they're the ones I find most enjoyable because they just feel right. Yeah. Whereas the other ones can be like a labour of love, and by the time you get there, you're like, oh, finally, it's done.
Yeah, and sometimes you sort of lose love for it in a way when it takes that long because it feels less natural. But there's often an obsession with things happening naturally as well. If they don't happen easily, at least I don't know about you, I find it hard to hold on to that thread. Like if I'm writing something and I'm not feeling it, and then I think I'm going to have to come back to this another day. But I come back to it and I think, I'm not in the same mood as I was then, and then I just don't. But do you have things in the pocket that you just sort of, you see that from years ago even, or months ago, and you come back to them? And do you ever come back to them and use them as the beginning, as inspiration?
I suppose it's very rare. Like, I've got many ideas that are just sitting in my phone voice memo or whatever. But Native Home is an example of that actually working. Like I said, it was a tune I had for a long time, and it became a different song on the first album, and now it's this as I originally imagined it, even though I didn't have the lyrics back then. But those ones, like I said, they mean the most to me, I think, or they have a special place in my heart, because we had a different day where we did we recorded some harmonium on Capely Finn, and that went fine. That went as planned. But we just happened then to do another song as well, which is called "Laying the Foundations," which I just had. I just finished it at the time, and we just tried it out with the harmonium, and that actually turned out kind of better, like, because it just happened, and that I don't know if it's better or not, but it has a special place in my heart as just a song that's like, oh, that just worked.
Yeah.
And like those are the moments I really love in the studio,
Yeah. Well, you've made a lot of music as well. You've been a very productive artist over the last 5 years. I want to talk more about earlier albums because, first of all, you've made albums, which is in itself a massive achievement. And it's something that's a little bit lost now. It's a lost art. I mean, how do you feel about that? You think people don't make enough, they don't spend time on one big project, putting something together like a unit. They just constantly throw singles at you. Yeah.
I'm sad about it, really.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the person who's like, oh, I was born in the wrong. But no, I just feel sad about, like, it is a dying art, and I think if I could just do albums all the time, that'd be great. Singles are great too, but I just, like, whenever I see an artist who either I know or is of a certain, is like emerging artist in some way, if they make an album, if I like them as an artist and they make an album, then I'm very, very interested because they've, like, put in the time, or they've had a kind of idea or a concept that they've kind of followed through with, I don't know, I just love it. And then, like, to getting my music made or printed on vinyl was a huge dream of mine, which I was very lucky to have come true. So I've got 2 albums now on vinyl, which is amazing. But it's just the physical, like, you get to hold it, it's yours, like, streaming is great, and, like, the ease of it, the convenience, but it could all go away tomorrow, like, if the big servers go down,
it's
and,
no
like,
longevity.
So but yeah, I love doing albums, but now I find myself it's not great for promoting your music, to be fair. So I find myself now doing singles, not quite begrudgingly, but just
but in the same way you did something a lot like that, the way you just described a concept with Roger Fenton's Wagon, that is a very unique thing as well, the way it looks, the way it sounds, and it's more country, and it's based on, well, you tell me what the whole thing is based on.
Years ago, going on like maybe 8-9 years ago, I saw the picture. I was bored in work one day. I was working in a call centre in Cork, and I was bored, and I was looking at the history of photography on Wikipedia, and the picture of this guy on a wagon popped up as he was the first war photographer, and I was like, wow, that's a great photo, and I thought that would make a great album cover, because I also love the process of, like, making the cover, and so I just thought that would make a great cover. And then I looked into who he was, and I thought, it's just an interesting story. He's the first war photographer, and the war he was involved in, the Crimean War, had lots of characters like Florence Nightingale, who are, people are still aware of these people today. So I had this mad idea to make an album about them, and it went through many, like, incarnations in my head, and it wasn't until, like, a good 7-8 years later that I finally had the courage to do it. And it was when lockdown hit, and I had already released my first album, which was just a collection of songs or whatever. But this was, I just felt like it was time now to, like, it was a lockdown thing, it was time to do it. And I liked the weirdness of it, I like when albums are a bit kind of off kilter, and, like, there's different styles on there. There's, like, a spaghetti western song, and there's not quite like a sketch or a skit, but there's just different interludes and I love all that kind of weird stuff in albums that are you just don't get with, like, a string of singles,
Yeah, I think maybe it's a point of getting to know someone as an artist. When you find an album, you can delve into what they're actually like, because singles give off an impression. If you put one song out and that's all people hear, then they immediately think, oh, they're that kind of artist. But then you put out something that is a collection, like your first album. You played one of the songs today from the first album, which is one of my favourites, so I am biased, but I wish I could have loved you. And that album is the same kind of sepia tone picture.
Yeah,
which
even
I
though
think you told me about once. Where's that photo from?
So again, I'm a bit of a Luddite. Is that the term? Like I love just analog stuff and recording like live. And the whole idea with that first album was to record a whole album live to tape on like an old reel-to-reel tape machine all in one room. So I got like a buddy of mine back home who has a studio and a tape machine. Got a little band together and did a few days down there, and just I think it was two days of the full band, and then another 2 or 3 days of just myself doing everything just live, and some are like first take recordings and some are maybe take 2 or 3, you know, so it's all very like raw, and that's what I wanted. And the cover then follows that same idea. I came across a fella who does tintype photography in Wales, again ages back. I just found his page on Facebook and just thought it had a great look, those photos, and just kept them in my head for when I might need them. And then just before lockdown, I got onto him and arranged a session. So I just went down. He just took a portrait of me in his bedroom, and it was fascinating, you know, because it was a proper old tintype camera. I can't even really describe, but you know, it's the type where the photographer has to put the cloak over his head, and yeah. And then he developed it on a little plate right there in front of me, and like he mixes all the chemicals himself and everything, and it's fascinating because you just see this face come out of develop out of the shadows. You know, it's kind of eerie, really. So yeah, that was the idea. So I think like so far, like each album has had like, well, the first one wasn't a concept album, but it had like an idea that like it should be live and it should be as kind of like analog or tactile as possible, you know.
Wish I could have loved you. I wish I could have loved you the way he got to. 'Cause if I could have loved you the way he got to, I know I would see it through. I had to watch him hold you, but pull himself from you like the tide. I wanted you to try me, but the man inside me chose to hide. I've already felt this kind of love, and I know what it's made of, but I haven't felt your kind. I would trade all the love and pain that stood in your place to feel your hand in mine. Yeah. I wish I could have loved you. I wish I could have loved you the way he got to. 'Cause if I could have loved you the way he got to, I know I would see it through. We sit on the step and conversate and try to contemplate going somewhere new. You have a light shining in your eyes, and it needs to be kept alive. I wanna feed your fire too. like a burned palate to the taste, blind all to the signs. Oh, but I would trade all the love and pain that stood in your place to feel your hand in mine. Yeah. I wish I could have loved you. I wish I could have loved you the way he got to. The way he got to. The way he got to. The way he got to.
The Alpha Sessions.
That's the other good thing about making a project or having an actual specific idea, like from beginning to end, and you know what sound you want and what direction you want to take it, that is different to the new world of streaming and singles and all that. It's something that you can craft, which it does feel like an old world thing now.
Yeah.
A very lost art in a way.
Yeah.
But there are communities out there. Like, have you found people who've seen you live or have found your music just online and they've spoken to you or they've said that it's something that's unique?
Yeah, I mean, people are very kind, yeah.
Because that must be really niche, especially on places like Bandcamp or on Reddit threads. And it's a very different world.
I'm more I'm amazed at the people who would buy my albums and like the vinyl in like America and across Europe and stuff. And my first thought, my first instinct is like, oh, how do I know them? Like, they must know me somehow. But I know that they don't. Like, so it's that's just mind blowing to me that like, of course, my music can be streamed anywhere. Anyone's music can be streamed across the world. But it's just, it's amazing to me that the thought of my album, my physical album, being shipped to, Colorado somewhere, and now it's going to sit there for God, and what'll happen to it over there? Like, I just love thinking of that, and it's just, I feel very special and lucky to that these people have found my music or whatever,
And did you go to America at one point? Did you go to Nashville?
I did, a good while back now.
That's familiar. I'd forgotten about that. But that must have informed a lot of the way you create.
But I've always loved like I said, folk and like American folk and blues, and going to Nashville was a big thing for me, which is a good few years back now, but it's where I got the name Tootawl. Someone just called me Tootawl in the street. It was just fun. It was just funny at the time, but then when I needed a name for my solo thing a few months later, it just came back. I'm like, oh,
it was there. It was meant to be.
But it was fantastic. Yeah, it was an amazing city because everyone is a musician. Everybody you meet there. But yeah, I must get back. But I've also done like little tours in California and stuff. And
oh wow!
so
okay, that's the dream.
Yeah,
living the dream. You do play live quite a lot, actually. I saw you literally last week playing Putney.
Yes,
but
indeed.
how do you find the London scene? I mean, it's nice being a folk musician, I think, and playing in London, like you were saying at the very beginning, because there's so many venues out there, little acoustic ones and stuff. But you don't play with a band very much.
No, I don't really. I was in a band before, and I do miss the camaraderie of that.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of easier, I think, to play solo. You're just relying on yourself, and it's like lonelier, but it means I can't play all the gigs I play because it's just easier.
How do you feel about the scene at the moment, though? Because it gets a lot of people down, gets me down. I stop gigging. I go through phases of playing and then phases where I think I cannot take this anymore, and I just completely stop until I get the urge for it again. How?
Yeah, I don't know much about the scene in general. Like, I wouldn't want to speak with the scene, but I've always like enjoyed it. I guess like you do have maybe go through certain phases of having not like a bad gig, but just I guess you need to like remind yourself why you do it, and maybe you settle into a set list that's too kind of comfortable, or if there's nothing new in there for you, but yeah, so I guess every once in a while you hit a. I've definitely had times where I'm like, God, what am I doing with music? Like, why?
The old existential.
Yeah, comes and goes. But I find that if you just keep doing the next thing, then something will push you forward. Before I did my first album, I remember this was back in 2019 now. And it seems odd to me now, but I was like, God, yeah, maybe I'll do the album and then I'll see, and maybe I'll like just kind of fade it out from there. But then I did the album and it went great and got it made on vinyl, and it just pushed me on to the next one, and then the next one, and then so yeah, I do remind myself that if I ever feel like a bit down about, or I just feel that like music is hard, it's a slog, and what's it giving me back, just to keep going, really.
That's all you can do.
That's all you can do, and then something will happen, to keep you going.
Is there like an integral part of you that just can't stop, like can't keep away? Because I think that's often the case. People think like, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to stop, and for some reason you just don't.
Yeah.
Even though it can feel like it's constantly a negative time for some people.
Yeah.
They just keep going.
Yeah.
Because it's something you have to do.
I think so. Yeah. In some shape or form. Yeah. Even if I was to not gig as much, I think I definitely would still write music and record. And to be honest, I don't really see myself ever like fully putting down the guitar, but I'm done now, as much as sometimes you're like, you feel like that, but
smashing.
Yeah. But I think it is truly just a part of me, and I can't imagine a world without it, really. Yeah.
Well, you've got lots lined up this year, which brings me to Capelli Finn.
There we go.
All
the way down to Capelli Finn.
Yeah, which I think is a really sweet song, to be honest. It's one of those songs that it just kind of washes over you. It's very calming. It's very, and that's the nature of the whole thing.
Yeah,
like,
it was a really nice. It was really nice how it came together. It was Capelli Finn is a place in Wales where myself and my partner just went for a kind of a big party / festival thing, and it was just a lovely time. So it's a very wholesome song.
Yeah.
But the song then, it was an example of like, it was one of those moments where I really was reminded why I love songwriting. It just came together so naturally, and I wrote it one day on my break from work when I was wandering around the streets, going for a stroll, and just kind of the melody and the words started to come to me, and it just really, the excitement was like, I was buzzing, and when I got home later on, the guitar just kind of it all just fit together, and truly, one of the moments where you're like, oh yeah, this is why I do it, yeah. And again, lucky to be able to record it in a very very cool studio. Like, but
you've got it all figured out at the moment. Everything's falling into place. So is there a prospective plan for the singles coming out? Like what news have you got? What can we drop here?
Well, there's no set dates for things yet, but things are coming together very well as of recently, in terms of recording and mixing, etc. There'll be a string of singles, two of which I've played here today, which people will hear. And I guess the plan is just to have a string of singles and just see how that goes. And ultimately, I suppose, consolidate into an album, as I would like to do, along with other ones as well that I'm recording along the way. But definitely Capelli Finn and Native Home, which I've sung here today, will be the next two singles to come.
I can't wait. We can't wait. And for anyone at home who wants to find you, where can they find you? What should they search?
They should search Tootawl, which is spelled Tootawl. You'll find me anywhere with that: website, Spotify, Instagram, Bandcamp, etc. for physical copies of things. YouTube, anywhere.
Everywhere. Search up Tootawl. Thanks for coming in finally.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's been wonderful.
I really appreciate it.
blue-eyed love of mine, as up we climb the hill that crosses the borderline to see what we can see. Huffed and puffed the whole way up, and that's where the huffing stopped. For when you're at the top, you're as up as you can be. 'Twas there we spotted the old grey horse, standing proud amidst the gorse. Ne'er has felt the lash of a crop, she is standing free. Tramping on a few more miles, under the branches over the stiles, came upon the stones and piles laid for you and me. Love of mine, you know my heart's design. Take my hand as up we climb, take my love from me. Take this ribbon, take this bow, take me tripping to and fro through the glades where bluebells grow. Take my love from me. I kiss you and I feel you smile as we cross the borderline. We can feel the winds of time, we both feel the breeze. We've come on up the hill, let's go further still to find the dreams we can fulfill, see what we can be. Big blue-eyed love of mine, as up we climb the hill that crosses the borderline to see what we can see.